this morning, and I grossly underestimated the amount of time I needed, so yeah. So the singing, the group that's visiting that sang for us, they say, God set that up real nice for me. That's always got my back, huh? I would have still been in here working until like 10:35. Gotta thank God. So we're talking about true love from God. In the Bible, there are different words for love, and the word that's used when it describes the love of God, actually, for a long time, and actually it's really weird. You can know something and completely be ignorant to it at the same time. If you drive down Hiawassee Road, on the right side of the road, just before Silver Star, there's I think it's a preschool, and it's called, well, I read it as several years in a row as Agape. And I was like, what's Agape? But it's not Agape. And actually, I knew the word agape, but I just read it that way. It just always, I think it was what was my mind was saying, like agape school. But I actually knew the word, right? But agape is the type of love that's described as God's love. It's not deserved love. It's not love that's merited. We didn't earn it. It's love that is given because of who God is and how God is. One thing that we do, we have a bad habit of doing, is we tend to mimic or imitate the very things that we hate the most. And we do it way more than you can ever imagine. Children, I've told you guys this before, children that see their parents or their mother get hit, like little boys that see their mothers get beat by the father, they usually grow up and hate the father who beat their mother when they get to a certain age, but later on in life, the very thing they hate, they do. They end up beating their wives later on too. Women that live in a home where their mother is physically abused, later on in life, they usually end up in a relationship where they get physically abused. I think this is weird, but a lot of times we think that it's, and when I say, I'm going to use the word, well, I'm not going to use the word fault, but we think that the guy is just a monster who's doing that to the girl, beating at the girl, which is true. He's evil and it's wrong for him to do that. But actually, there have been studies that show that girls that come out of that type of family life actually either attract those types of guys, or even if they end up in a relationship with a normal guy, somehow the guy will end up doing that to them. It's almost like it, I mean, we could say that it must be some type of characteristic or behavior that they give off that attracts that. Now, I don't think that the girl's like, I need to get beat up today. Let me behave this certain way. I don't think so. And I don't think that anything they do is probably causing it, because I know I have an aunt. She was my favorite aunt for the longest time. We not really in touch that much anymore. But she, I saw her be the most wonderful mom. I saw her be great. She wasn't legally married, but common law wife. And I've seen her stand in front of her husband and say, please, let's just talk, let's stop. And him look at her and go, and then just punch her in her face. So I don't think that the women provoke it either. I think that somehow they give off something that says to the guy, if you hit me, you're going to get away with it. It's kind of like, Jamaicans have this saying, Jamaicans say, Duppy know who frightened, which means ghosts know who to scare. You know, people that pick on people usually kind of target somebody that they think they can get away with it. And they usually target the right person. Sometimes they make a mistake and target somebody that they think is, they're gonna be able to bully and pick on, and then they don't know that have a habit of mimicking behavior that we see. And one of the things that fascinates me to no end is how we, like if you have a friend that says, you find out that they don't like you and they don't even want to talk to you anymore, what will you do? If you see them, you're probably going to be like, "I'm talking to them. They ain't talking to me." Now, before you found out your friend didn't like you, you were like, "It's my friend, we're cool." Now you found out your friend doesn't want to talk to you, and you hate the behavior that your friend is giving off, and what do? You're like, "I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do exactly what I hate that my friend is doing. My friend stopped talking to me, and it's disgusting that they're doing it, and I hate disgusting behavior, so I'm going to go ahead and do it." We do it all the time. We do it all the time. If somebody says something disgusting to us, usually we fire back with something disgusting. Someone treats us a certain way, it's just the way we are. But God's love is not like that. God, when Jesus was on the cross, he didn't look down and say, "I'm going to nail you one day." He looked down and said, "Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing." The love of God is different because he doesn't give us what we deserve or what we've earned. He gives us all the good that we don't deserve. So John begins. He says, "Do not love this world, nor the things it offers. For when you love the world, you do not have the love of the Father in you." So the first thing you want to notice is, what is the world? Now, the Bible uses the word world differently. When it says God so loved the world, right? It's talking about people, the people in the world. But when it uses the word world in this context, when it says do not love this world, nor the things it offers, it's talking more about the system of the world around us, the system of beliefs, and it's offering to your flesh. It's an offering to your pride. The things the world offers are things that gratify the physical man, while your inner spiritual man is starving to death. Your physical man gets all the pleasures that he wants, whether it be by watching something. And this is the thing, we sometimes, we have like micro sins that we commit, that we kind of justify. So like, we won't go into a store and pick something up and steal it. Well, we'll download it for free. You know what I mean? Because in our eyes, the act of stealing, we don't see that they don't add up. But we know that it doesn't belong to us, and we know that legally, whatever, right? We do that. And so when we talk about sin, we're not just talking about stuff you do. This is the thing. What is gratifying to your flesh? When we talk about gratifying to your flesh, we mean that your earthly man, the man that doesn't care about God, the part of you that doesn't give any time to God, that doesn't give any thought to God, that part of you, we gratify that part. Because what does he do? That part of us wants to stare at videos, wants to, if it's in certain contexts, take drugs, or maybe sexual sin, or substance, or any type of thing. It could be staring at videos, it could be playing video games, it could be anything. When we gratify that and forget the spiritual man, what we end up having is, it's kind of like if you had two people in a room, and you fed one, and you let the other one go hungry, and then you put them in a fight with each other. Who do you think is going to win? The one that's been eating, and he's full, and he's strong, he has health. The other one that's been starving. So we have this war going on within us, where the spiritual man wants to know God, is constantly being given everything he wants, and so he's like trying to stifle and hold down the spiritual man. In that song that I think it starts, it's called It Starts and Start and Ends. It's by Hillsong, and he says, my heart is a battleground. He says, if my heart is a battleground, my defense is to run both ways. And he says, the flesh is a beggar and a thief, but there is a spirit man awakening me. So he's saying, what ends up happening is when things happen in my life and temptation comes, I run both ways, because the spiritual man is trying to run to do what's right, and the physical man is like, no, I'm going to run and do what I want to do. And there's a war going on inside of us because of that. And the world, the system, it offers everything to stroke our ego, to please our body. When I say please our body, that's through the eyes too. That's through the ears too. That's music. That's video. That's media. That's all of those things. We think that we have to physically be touched. That's the thing. We have senses that are working past or beyond our touch. We smell, we see, we feel. All those things are, or we hear. Those things are happening, and they can be sinful. If you're listening to certain types of music that have certain lyrics, and God will usually speak to your heart, and He will usually not want you doing it. And if you continue doing it, now you're sinning. What you're watching. So many people are online watching things they shouldn't watch. But the world, the system of the world, pumps it out. It constantly pumps it out. I've talked about this a few times, that Facebook has no bottom. Right? It has no bottom. You never can scroll to the bottom of the screen. Every other website, pretty much, you can scroll to the end of the screen and then you see the About, Contact Us. There is no bottom to Facebook. You can scroll forever. And when you get to the bottom, it'll loop right around and probably start all over again. And so there's no end to the media that's out there for us to consume. Whether it be YouTube, or whether it be Facebook, or whether it be Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, there's no end. I know people that their sin, their thing is probably politics. They can't stop watching the news. And they're constantly, oh my gosh, they can't stop watching the news. I have an uncle like that. Just can't. And I don't know if I would say they begin it as an outright sin, but if that's all you do and you're not giving your time to God, then you've been caught in the system. There are many different hooks, and there's much different bait for those hooks. If you're attracted by the media, then the worm is the media. If it's video games, then the worm I put on my line is a video game. Or if it's YouTube, I got you with that, and there's something for everybody. Sports, that'll be the hook for so many people. How many sports, Super Bowl happens when on Sundays, usually. And how many people are not going to go to church, forget about Super Bowl, from many sports, but they'll wake up for that sporting. So the world offers everything to stroke our ego, to please our body, but it leaves the soul dead. So you cannot love the world and love God. Because you have to be giving something more of your loyalty. You have to be. There's no way, right? Even if you were giving God 50% of the time, right? Let's say you were like, okay, I'm going to give the things I have to do 50% and give God 50%. You still could never come up and break even, because God really doesn't deserve 50%. He deserves all of our time, right? Now, it doesn't mean that, well, we can't even give him 50%, that's not enough. There's no way I can do it, I give up. No, we make time for God still. But it has a lot to do with our heart, right? Where does our loyalty belong? Or where does it go? Or who does it belong to? Understanding what the world is changes things. If you love the world, you love pleasure for your body, pride for your ego, and temptation for your eyes. And if all of those senses are being occupied, or all of those parts of you are being occupied and consumed, or they're busy consuming the stuff the world offers, how can we have any time for God? How can we love God? Because all of our loyalties have already been taken up. The body is gone, consumed by pleasure. The mind is gone, consumed with self or pride. And the eyes are gone, consumed with whatever we like to look at. And when I say the mind is gone because it's consumed with pride, some of you have heard, well, actually, I'll leave that for a little bit later. But what I mean by that is that we love to be made much of. People naturally like that. Did you know that they say that if you want someone to like you, they say that all you have to do is do what they do. Did you know that? So like, Eugene right now is like biting his thumb. So if I was talking to him, I could just, okay? And they say if you keep mimicking the person, not making fun of them or mocking them, but if you mimic them to an extent, they say that that person will usually like you a lot. And you want to know why? Because they want to be worthy of being copied. We like ourselves. We like our name. We like ourselves. Our ego. You know, we as much as we be like, oh, no, I thank you. We want to be modest. But really we're like, you have a spot. So that's where the mind is busy thinking about stuff that we want, because we're prideful. It continues on, for the world offers only a craving for physical pleasure, a craving for everything we see, and pride for our achievements and possessions. They are not from the Father, but are from the world. You hear that? Listen, for the world offers only a craving for physical pleasure, a craving for everything we see, and pride in our achievements and possessions. They are not from the Father, but from this world. So the world creates for physical pleasure. And the sad thing is that the physical pleasure is not always innocent. Because there are people who receive pleasure from hurting people. There are people who receive pleasure from hurting people. You know, to get into most gangs, you know how you get into a lot of gangs? I know how I got into the first gang I got into. You basically have to jump into the middle of a bunch of guys, and their explanation is, we want to see if you can take us, if you can fight us, and stand up to us, right? But really what it really is it gives them a chance to let out all of their aggression on you. So when you're beat up and on the floor and in pain after 20 guys jump you, they're like, you're good, man. You could take a beating. So now you can be in the gang because if we get into a fight, you can take a beating. But you notice that when they were beating you up, there was a certain level of enthusiasm with the punches that they were giving you. And there are people that enjoy doing that. There are people who enjoy hurting other people. There was a game, the knockout game, probably like 5 years back, where people would just go up to somebody on the subway, and usually, because we live in a world full of cowards, they would just punch an old lady in the face. What their goal was to see if you could knock somebody out with one punch. And lots of old ladies is who they targeted, because, you know, they're brave, and, you know, if the country ever went to war, it would be old ladies that the enemy would have fighting against us, you know. But they did that. Serial killers, people that do something like that. They take a certain level of pleasure in doing that. There's a lady that, she's a columnist, and she wrote an article about her best abortion ever. That's what it's called, my best abortion ever. And what she did is she talks about how the lady told her that there's a new procedure. They use like a vacuum to suck everything out. And she said she went home feeling so good about herself. It's about her, you see? It's about her. It doesn't matter that another human being was minced up and chopped up like if they were trash, right? I told you guys about the little girl that got found, that mother, there was another little baby this week in New York that somebody just dropped on the street. And they found, I think she's dead. But that person needed to probably get to the club or to go and hang out with their friends, and it was about them. And even if they were just worried about what their parents would say, it's still about them. It's still about them, because you've done something wrong, why not face the consequences of it, right? You rather, to get away from what your parents will say or your friends will say or whatever else you have to go through, you rather take a human life. This is the world we live in. People receive pleasure from things that are dangerous, drugs, alcohol. People are into painful things that they do, that X-rated stuff, and sometimes people die during those things. And you see the world pushing that movie 50 Shades of Grey. A lot of that stuff, there are people that get really seriously hurt with crazy stuff. But that's what the world does. It pushes insanity on us. Or we crave what our eyes see. And when we crave what our eyes see, it creates sin, like stealing, or envy, or jealousy. Or there are people that rape women. They see something they want, and at all costs, they're going to get it. And it creates hate, because people, when you envy somebody or you're jealous of them, what does it really boil down to? It boils down to they have something and it should be me that has it. You can't even be happy that somebody else has something that you don't have. And pride in ourselves. This is the most fascinating to me. The more I know God is, the more I'm amazed at pride. And I'm amazed that Satan can be such a being that's more powerful than a human, with such a level of intelligence that he must have, right? And that he doesn't see the error in pride. How can you not see the error in pride when you owe your existence to something other than yourself? You couldn't exist without that being, without God. How could you be prideful above him when you couldn't exist without his power? But pride, we have lots of pride. We think highly of ourselves. Have you ever talked, I've talked to so many people, especially when I worked for Starwood, Brian, I understand. I'm like, based on your record of using this thing, you don't understand. Yes, I am a lawyer, or something like that. They're so proud of themselves. We don't know much about humility. Pride in ourselves, pride in what we have, pride in what we've done. And when we have pride, the sad thing about pride is, like, let's say we have pride in something we have, right? I'm okay with enjoying something you have, because there are lots of little things that I have that I enjoy. And the strange thing about it is that a lot of times the things I like, a lot of people don't like. Like, my favorite little things. You know, like I had, there was a Samsung watch, it was really, and a lot of people were like, how come you didn't get the blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I like the futuristic look of it. I just love the way it looks, you know? And my brother's like, Brian, why'd you buy a Dodge? You're just an idiot. You know, like, but I like what I like, you know? But there are people who want to have things that other people like, not so that they can enjoy it together, but so that that person can feel bad that you have it and they don't. You know what I mean? They're proud of everything. I have all this stuff. What do you have? Nothing. Oh, great. That's the way people are. Look, watch music videos, especially rappers. What do? They have all their money and they're like, hey, great, you're rapping to little kids in the hood that might not have a dinner tonight. Lucky thing you showed them that you have a lot of money that you won't share with them. Right? And they care about their communities. Not just rappers, it's all over. You look at the stuff that all of Hollywood, honestly, and I hope you do this too, if you and your values go very, very much against what you see happening in Hollywood, thumbs up to you. Because you should be against most of the stuff they believe. Honestly, even the way they drink water, if I found out they drink it this way, I'd have to switch to a new way. They just, honestly, you just want to not be associated with the way they think in any way, shape, or form. So they forget that everything comes from God. We think that we have some responsibility in what we have, as if our determination gave it to us, as if God didn't give us determination, as if God didn't give us the brain to have determination, or the energy to do it, or even the thought, or even the faith to believe that we could do it, or even the circumstances that allowed us to do it. Because we could have been born in Somalia, or Uganda, or someplace in the world where opportunity doesn't exist. Where everything we have is from God. Especially like people that are good looking. You ever see videos like that? We're in two different categories, right? Like somebody thinks they're the bomb and somebody else is not. You think you gave yourself those looks? You're in the womb and you're like, I'm going to have my eyes, I'm going to do my nose. God did that. We shouldn't have pride. And so those behaviors are not from God. And we actually see this behavior someplace else early in Scripture. In Genesis 3:6, I want you to notice this. In Genesis 3:6, it says, the woman was convinced. She saw that the tree was beautiful and it looked delicious. And she wanted the wisdom it would give her. So she took some of the fruit and ate it. Then she gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it too. So the Bible talks about these three things and you'll understand it. So beauty. So she saw that the tree was beautiful and it looked delicious. This is the lust of the eyes. The Bible talks about the lust of the eyes, us wanting things that we shouldn't or can't have. You might not think that her wanting the fruit is the same as some guy seeing a woman on the street and wanting her and then raping her. Yes, it's the same. Because in both cases, they were both told, what you're wanting to do is not right. You see something you want, but in this case, you're to leave it alone. So it boils down to the same thing. And she wanted the fruit because it looked delicious, which is the flesh, to gratify her taste buds. She wanted that taste. Doesn't matter how, she got it. So you have the eyes, and now you have physical sensation going along with it. And that's called the lust of the flesh. So we have the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh. And then we have pride of life, which is what? And she wanted the wisdom it would give to her. So you're like, well, what's wrong with eating a fruit if it gives you wisdom? Remember, she was already told, the day you eat of it, you'll surely die. And what does Satan say to her? No, God doesn't want you to eat it because he knows that when you eat it, you'll be like him, knowing good and evil. So what did she want to do? To be like God. Pride. Pride of life. Lust of the eyes, lust of the flesh, pride of life. And it continues. And this world is fading away along with everything that people crave, but anyone who does what pleases God will live forever. I know we're a little over in time, but we'll be done right now. The world and the system of the world is passing away. The things it causes us to crave is passing away or fading away. Because physical things only last for a time. Many men, they have a wife that they would call a trophy wife, right? You've heard people use that expression before. And the bad news is that she's going to grow old. And so is he. And as beautiful as she may be, she won't stay that way. And if he has the best car, it'll fade away too. My cousin gave me a really nice jacket when I had my motorcycle, and it's a motorcycle jacket. It's leather, and the jacket probably cost like $500-600. Really nice jacket. But he had it sitting in his garage for years. But it really nice. You know what? You know what happened? I brought it home, and all of the padding, because it has like these pads that go into like little pockets on the inside. Every single one of them, they were made of like a hard rubber, but like foamy enough to be able to squish. And they crumbled in my hand, every single one of them. Every single one of them. I've had things that I've saved over years, and when I go back and look at it, I open it and it falls apart. Plastic can't withstand time. The moisture leaves it and then it just shatters. Cars rust. Money can only buy you so much, because after a while, no matter how much you have, if you don't have people that care about you, all the money in the world can't help you. Electronics, they're outdated by the time you have them. They're coming up with a new Nintendo Switch, although people have a Nintendo Switch and it's relatively new. If you have an Xbox, well, they came out with the Xbox One S, which was to give you HDR, right? Then they came up with the One X, which was the most powerful system in the world, and now we find out that Microsoft is working on their next system. And so no matter what you have, it's going to be outdated. If you have a phone, you know what I'm talking about. Because as soon as you get it, you're like, I got the new iPhone. Did you hear they're coming out with a new one next week? Shattered screens. Everything you have is fading away. Every person you have is fading away. And it's not that we should be cynical and be like, everything sucks in this world, it's going away anyway. No. But we should place a priority on where it belongs, which is our relationship with God, because that's the only thing that's going to last forever. And that's why it says, right? It says, but anyone who does what pleases God will live forever. What does it mean will live forever? Because there are people that are going to go to hell that are going to live forever. But Jesus never really calls hell, the existence in hell, life. When he talks about life, he's usually talking about something good. Jesus actually said that, that when we know him, we've already passed from death to life, right? Actually, when he talks about people that are in hell that live forever, he just says where the worm never dies. And actually the Bible calls that the second death. So everyone's going to live forever. It's what your life in the future will be like. Will you be with God in paradise, or will you be separated from God because in this life you didn't have any time for him? So we can love the things the world has to offer. Often those things are sinful, and they become false gods to us. So whatever you give your time to, if there is a lot of time given to something, that's where your loyalty is. Many of us bow down to our electronic God every day. We bow down to our hobbies every day as our God. We bow down to money. We bow down to so many things that we put ahead of God. Because when we put them ahead of God, they've taken a place in our life of importance that's above him. And so we bow down and worship them. If our loyalty lies in social media, video games, gadgets, whatever it is, if they take the place and the time that God deserves, then the saying is true that whatever you give your time to kind of shows what you love. Because what you give your time to is how you show your loyalty, right? If you give your time to everything except the thing that you claim to love, then you're not really showing that you love it. And the thing about love is people have a very, very bad understanding of love. They think that love is a feeling. think love is a feeling, I have bad news for you. Yes, you can feel love, but love has action. If I claim to love you, and I don't do the things that someone loves you does, then I don't really love you. I can tell my kids I love them all they want, while abusing them or hurting them. I can tell you I care about you all I want, but if my actions don't show it, then what good is that love? Great feeling inside, and that's about it. John 5:24, I'll leave you with two scriptures. John 5:24 says this, I tell you the truth, those who listen to my message and believe in God who sent me have eternal life. They will never be condemned for their sins, but they have already passed from death into life. And I assure you that the time is coming, and indeed is here now, when the dead will hear my voice, the voice of the Son of God, and those who listen will live. Jesus said in John 6:51, I am the living bread that came down from heaven. Anyone who eats this bread will live forever. This bread which I give, which I offer, so the world may live, is my flesh. What Jesus is saying here is, if you love me, if you love God, if you listen to God, you'll live forever. That's why he says, if you believe him and believe in the God who sent him, then you've already passed from death to life. Because in his eyes, although we'll physically die here in this world, our place is already secured in what he calls life, which is heaven. Every day, we have to get up and examine ourselves. This is something that every one of us should be doing. Examine yourself daily. How much time, how much loyalty, where's your heart? Do you give God his just due? Because if you don't, then you have to ask yourself, are the things that I'm putting my time and my loyalty into worthy of that time and loyalty? Because they're here today and gone tomorrow. And when I look back on my childhood pictures, I always think I'm like, you're an idiot. And the reason why is because all the things I thought were cool then, I think are dumb now. But I invested so much time into those things. And now I realize, although I was a kid, I was just having fun, but a lot of that was a waste of time. Although, as kids, we waste time. That's one thing, right? But we have to remember that what we give our loyalty to becomes the God we bow down and worship. And if we bow down and worship the things in this world, and we serve a God that will deteriorate, let's close in prayer. Father, we thank you for your love and mercy. We thank you, Lord God, for this world that you've given us, that we might share the gospel, and we might share life with those that have never known you. Father, we thank you for your mercy and your kindness, and we pray that